The Indian Army has taken very heavy casualties in just trying to put in our straight-legged foot infantry, but we have brought the situation in most cases.
Absolutely,
in most
there's no
cases,
question about that.
We have brought the situation to a level where the terrorists were, or the insurgents were forced to put down their weapons. We had the Shillong Accord, we had the Aizawl Accord, where they have been brought into the national...
Okay, I want to get in Professor Bhadro. He's listening. He wants to come in at this time. Professor Bhadro, the army might not be able to win the hearts and minds of the people, but it brings the fire under control. Nobody can say that the army's deployment in Kashmir leaves Kashmir worse off, because Kashmir is now much better off than it was earlier. Similarly with Nagaland and Assam, the situation is under control. The writ of the Indian state runs. The political problem needs to be dealt with separately. Professor Go.
All political issues in Jammu Kashmir, in Nagaland, in North Street are different from that of Maoist or Naxalite problem. You cannot mix up all problem in a one bracket and have a one simple solution. And once Chidambaram has written to Sami Ognibes formally to open up dialogue, you should wait for that. And there are options for dialogue. There are repeatedly voices from the civil society. With love and compassion, you have to hear the voice of the Maoists, and they have the people's social base. You cannot eliminate, and if you want in a democracy, you want to eliminate violence, you cannot use violence, or violence can be the constitutive element of the democracy. You cannot have both. Naxalites do not believe in institutional politics, I understand. They are outside institution of Indian democracy, I understand. But you have to cope up with their problem. They have raised certain issues which is very unpleasant, which are but truth. That India government is responsible for last 60 years for unemployment, for underdevelopment. If you read the Euripides drama Bake, you will find that there is a close affinity between violence and injustice. If you read equity and justice are not given to the people, and the democratic system is failure, completely failure, insensitive bureaucrat, corrupt institutions, and then you have no access to justice, then only then they come up with a say that gun can answer. And if you respond in a manner, it will be suicidal, there will be more loss of life on the both sides, and there will be collateral damage on Indian democracy. But it's a sad commentary, and it is a short-sighted policy, and in favor of the corporate, under the pressure of the corporate, India government is yielding to.
Okay, but General Malik, would you agree at least that in the short term, deploying, Chidambaram currently wants 7,000 soldiers from the Rashtra Rifles to be deployed, 2 headquarters to be set up in those areas. They will establish the writ of the Indian state, because the situation is getting more and more alarming. They're striking in the jungles today, they'll be striking in our cities tomorrow.
No, I'm afraid with 8 battalions you are not going to sort this out. There is no way that you can resolve this problem with 8 battalions located there in the manner in which we are functioning today. So if you are asking a military man, can they do it? I'm saying...
What according to you, sir, is the deployment which is required to be able to establish military domination all across the red zone?
Look, there are 220 districts today affected by the Maoists. Even if you take the minimum number where you have the intense violence going on, even there you cannot use only 8 battalions, you require much more. And that is what my worry is, that today we are just getting emotional. Yes, it is a loss that we suffered, but it doesn't mean that straight away you bring in somebody talks of Air Force, somebody talks of the Army, without thinking into other implications of all these things.
Rahul, I'd just like to remind you that when we are speaking about Kashmir,
what about the
correct
Armed
me,
Forces?
sir, but there are 6 lakh
Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Are you going to apply that now?
Exactly.
Here you have the Chief Minister of J&K. Every day, he's a lift that. So are the people elsewhere. Are you going to now apply, because that's the only way that you can employ the army into the search and destroy missions?
Mr. Chidambaram himself has been talking about lifting the AFSPA, and now you're talking about
not lifting, amending.
Amending it, but amending all those laws which really allow the forces to work with impunity. And the point is, Rahul, that when we're talking about Manipur, in the years that the army has been there and the paramilitary forces have been there, 20,000 youngsters have disappeared in Manipur. Is that a figure that we are comfortable with? In Kashmir, you've tied up 6 lakh forces.
Are we comfortable with with 500 Indians
No,
dying every month?
So Rahul,
in 5 months, 500 of our people have died.
Rahul,
Are we okay with that?
The point is that unfortunately all conversation and all discourse boils down to a kind of video game of violence and counter-violence. Why can't we accept after so many discussions that the discussion is not about, engendering more violence? It is about what is the most efficacious strategy. And it's today not just civil society who's saying that to you. Men in uniform are saying
General
this
Bakshi,
again and
as
again.
someone who's